started, I just have a couple of questions about your experience. So, for instance, what did you focus on during this little performance? What did you find yourself focusing on?
My answer. Maybe on the fabric.
All right, good. How did you feel to become an active participant? It was the performance. And how engaged were you during the performance?
Very.
Very engaged. Excellent. Do you have any a word or a mood or an emotion that was evoked by this performance?
It was playful.
Playful, there you go.
I was going to say exploratory.
I like that. Do you have any suggestions for the workshop? I mean, obviously we're still working on it, but love your input.
I was just going to say that another word for me was I was a little nervous.
Nervous?
I mean, like I wasn't. Yeah, I guess what I mean is I was looking at the dancers for direction, so I was nervous of sort of like, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Because I wanted to do something too, but I wasn't quite sure. Yeah, anyways.
No, okay, that's good. And what about the clarity of directions?
Oh, it was, I mean, I guess that was the fun part. There, you know, eventually it sort of worked out.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what to do with the card at first. I was like, do I flip it over or do I move it? Okay.
So how did that discovery process go? The initial control of the dancer with the card?
That was interesting. That was a lot of fun because like once you figured it out, you're like, oh, what can I get them to do? And then not only like, what can I get them to do, but like, if I do this, what are they going to do?
I enjoyed watching the other people and their dancers, and that helped me figure out.
Yes.
I couldn't help thinking about it, you know, it was the we, you know,
Yeah.
sort of concept that I was thinking about.
I really liked watching the dancers dance around the still boat.
Yeah.
That was a surprise too. Like, oh,
Allison, I would say I'm torn between suggesting a little more audience education before you start and thinking about, well, what's the value in the sort of learning process as you're going through.
So what was your comfortability?
I would have liked more tutorial.
More tutorial?
Before
Okay.
beginning, yeah.
Okay. Kind of describe your relationship with the dancers. Okay, so there's literal.
I know him.
All right, good enough.
I would say I felt like a learner. I felt like I was learning.
Okay, you felt the learner.
But it was like sort of a weird balance of being like with the card and you're supposed to like make them do something, but it's also like you're watching them for guidance and direction and kind of being like, well, you've done this, doing this, I'm new.
It was a power trip, to be honest. And what I mean is a trip in my head, sort of like figuring out how much power I had. There was a sort of like, oh, you know, I guess what I mean is that and that may have been the point, because I also felt like I was powerful being on stage next to the dancers in some ways, but then it was like, exactly, and then I felt vulnerable, exactly. Then I felt vulnerable, it was really,
like,
Nice. Okay, yeah, so vulnerable and powerful, excellent. Good combination.
I just watching.
Oh yes, yeah.
Her go, it looked like her dancer was sort of a guide to like, especially when the scarf started moving. Like I saw you helping guide, and that was nice.
Yeah.
How did you feel the music contributed, sort of, to your any of the sections?
Well, it gave a pace to the moves that you made. Like, I imagine a techno song would have elicited much different moves from everyone.
True.
it helped me know when we were done.
Yeah. Okay, did you find yourself watching the center person or your poses? Pretty much saw everybody watching the center person.
Center person.
Yeah, that's okay. So we'll play with that, lovely. Yeah, and how easy was it to interact with other people in the stage space? So not necessarily the dancers, you know, once you were up here, how easy was it to interact with the other people we brought up?
I mean, it was easy to get to the people immediately around you, but I didn't feel connected at all to the people on the other side of the U.
Mm-hmm.
My interaction was pretty much with these folks right here.
Yeah.
And I did feel like we were most empowered to interact with when we had the cell phone and we could hand it off to another. Right? That felt like we were directly asked to interact with the others, but it wasn't clear to me that we could interact with the others.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you could walk it to somebody over on the other side or just hand it to the person.
Right, or hand it back to the dancer.
Right.
Control your own destiny.
Genie free.
Other collaborators, do you have anything else you want to ask? Question.
Could you anticipate what you would have done given the postures on the card if I hadn't been in the front demonstrating?
I would have figured it out.
You would have?
I wasn't up there, but when Alice was all like, flip over the card, I was like, oh, that's what the pose things are.
And I also felt that may have been what the tutorial could have been. It might have said, there's four, it could have said 4 sequences, one repeating after the other, something like that, and then it's like, whatever. A voice signal or some other signal that,
Right.
I can see that working and almost acting like the tutorial that you were asking for.
Right.
You mentioned a voice signal or something else. Would a visual cue or an audio cue or both? Or
I think this is, we're all different learners, and I think that's the idea, right? That we all have different levels of sort of risk tolerance too. And I think, somebody might want to. I imagine dancers are less risk averse, but like those of us in the audience are more risk averse.
Unless
That's my
we're asked
impression.
to speak, in which case.
So this is my assumptions, right? So I guess that's what I mean. Is it feels like it's important to have multiple sort of pieces, and more auditory. You can have a lot of abilities and disabilities being able to participate in ways that feel really important.
For me, watching that section, it seemed like it was. What I enjoyed about it was watching people improvise with the dancers, more so than I think the intent was for the audience participants to continue doing those postures, and that didn't happen. But that improvisation was very exciting to me.
Okay. Excellent. And anything from our audience that was observing? What was it like to observe this particular performance?
Hypnotic.
And any other comments? Were there any sections that jumped out particularly that had a different or an interesting visual picture?
The moments of stillness about 2/3 of the way in when you were shaping and holding place.
I guess either the folks on stage or the folks in the house, were there any sections that you wanted to continue on, or any sections that you wish could be shorter or longer? Anything where you think, oh, we can move on from this? Yeah.
I think there was some participants that didn't get a chance to dance, so I really enjoyed seeing them do it.
And it felt like where the ribbons and the scarves were involved, it felt like they could have gotten involved in that part. And so, like ruffling or shaking, we were just sort of holding. It felt like that could have been explored more.
And she would have liked to have more time with the cards in the beginning.
That was fun.
It's nice to be a kid on a power trip.
That's great. Any other questions from?
is there something we could have done to have made it more inviting for you to
Initially jumping? Offer candy.
Do you have candy?
I'll take candy.
The balloons, because that would have tied in something that you already had, and sort of like playing with balloons. I could see that sort of thinking in the scarves, or just sort of passing them around and saying you don't have a cell phone, so here's a balloon or something like that. I don't know how that fits in, but it's just because we had balloons, right?
Right, something like that. Maybe a little bit more beginning.
I don't know, I feel like knowing-ish what you're going to be asked to do before you're asked to do it would be helpful, because, I'm somebody where you're like, I need a volunteer. Okay, what are we going to do? Jump off a cliff? Fine. But, I know a lot of people who are like, I don't know what we're going to... I'll just wait and see if anybody gets hurt doing this.
I've had a lot of bad experiences with volunteering. Like, someone's like, I need volunteers. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll be a volunteer. And they're like, all right, now do the wobble. I'm like, huh? What? I'm not doing anything.
Very good. Want to make sure we've got all our questions asked. I want to thank our dancers. The collaborators who are working on this project are from all over the country. So our lighting designer is from BYU, Mike's from BYU, Charles is from right here at MSU, Todd is from Minnesota, so coming in from the cold. Bill's from down in Ohio. I'm also here from Michigan State. Heather, as most of the dancers know, directed this concert that you saw. That was had choreographers. Some of the choreographers are here. Thomas is one of our choreographers. Excellent dancers are going to be part of this. And we're going to be working on this for the rest of the spring semester, along with the class I have with my wonderful research minions. And we're going to be working on this for the rest of the semester, so in finals week. So sometime around April 30th, we'll be actually putting this on as a workshop performance where there will be cell phone usage and you'll get a chance to come back and see what it becomes then based on the input you gave us today. So thank you very, very much. And